Hi, I'm Gary White for Channel 6 Central Kentucky Television here at Marion County High School. I'm here with some students who are eventually going to have a little presentation on a history project that they've been working on for the last semester. We're going to get a whole history on that. But first I want to introduce all these students because there have been about 15 or so students that were involved in this project, right? And what class is this?
Sophomore integrated social studies.
With, who's your teacher?
Jamie Brown.
Okay. And your name for us?
Cody McRoy.
Okay. And you were involved in this project, right? What did you do?
I dug the headstones up. I was the main person, some of the main people that did that.
And did you enjoy the project?
Oh yeah, it was real fun.
Got you outside doing something different, not just in the classroom, right?
A whole change of scenery.
Right. And you got to work with all these different students, all your comrades, right?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and our next student here?
I'm Tyler Gribbins.
Tyler Gribbins. Now, what did you learn from this class particularly? What did you really enjoy?
I really enjoyed just being out of the classroom and getting to experience something like this, history. It was very interesting.
And what was your job?
I did some probing and some grave witching.
Okay, and we're going to find out a little bit more about what all that means with our presentation here in a couple minutes, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, come on down. We have another student here.
Cameron Stiles.
Okay, and what was your job?
Well, for day one, I was around trying to dig, but today, second day, I was mainly the metal detecting.
Which did you prefer?
Mainly the digging.
The digging? Do you like that job? Okay. And what did you find? Do you remember any of the particular items you found when you were digging?
Well, we found like two gravestones, but on the metal detecting, we found a part of a horseshoe.
Okay. All right, and we'll find out more about what all that means too, right? Coming up in our presentation. Thank you very much. All right, come on down. And your name?
My name is Brianna Livers.
Okay, and what was your job?
My job was to help uncover the stones and clean them off.
Okay, was that hard to do? Cleaning off those stones?
Yes, it was.
Now, a lot of these stones, when we're talking about the gravestones, you're going to be finding a whole bunch of gravestones because we're at a cemetery, and they're not like huge gravestones that you see today, right? Some of them have deteriorated, is that right?
Yes, they've fallen apart, and some of them are like that tall.
So it's kind of like making a puzzle with all the different pieces.
Yes, yes it was.
Great. Well, thank you very much. All right, come on down. We have another student here, and your name?
Deliah Miller.
Okay, and what was your job?
I just helped discover gravestones that were underneath the ground that weren't being visible.
Okay. And did you enjoy it? What did you think that you learned from this project particularly?
I think how actually long ago all of this was, because you don't really think about how long ago it was, but I helped find H.H. Clark, which is actually underneath this huge tree that we couldn't actually get to. Okay. So we just kind of assume it's him. So you just think about the history behind it all. It's kind of crazy.
That's fantastic. So you're learning all this history and learning about different people who lived here in Marion County. How long ago do you think? What time frame? Do you remember what year might have been for that?
The beginning was like the 1800s.
Okay, so
I believe.
Several 150 years ago or so.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. And here we have one of the guys that you're going to see in a minute doing a presentation. Your name?
Cameron Ruley.
Okay. And what was your particular job during this?
So what I did was, when we were at the cemetery, I did a little bit of everything. So I cleaned the headstones, and then I probed a little bit. And I also, on my own time, researched and did a little genealogy on the project.
Okay, so this is great because the students not only in the classroom and going out there, you actually took your own time to learn more, right?
Yes.
So did you have a love of history before you did this, or have you gotten a better love of it?
I've gotten a better love of it.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much. And we'll get to see more from him and some of these other students. Come on down. We have two more students who are going to be doing the presentation. We'll move over here because we're going to talk a little about this picture too. Tell us your names.
I'm Isabella Vidito.
Wyatt Hamilton.
And these are two of our presenters that you're going to see in just a minute as well. But tell us again, what were your jobs during the actual project?
I was probing and uncovering headstones. Also, I was digging them up and finding nails.
Okay.
I mean, we did pretty much the same thing: probing, unearthing, digging. I mean, everything.
And speaking of nails, because part of this project was at a cemetery, but you're also looking for a church that was there. And we have a picture here and some of the nails that you found, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these are all the students and everybody who was involved in the project, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And the nails can you tell us a little bit the history of there?
The nails were from the church that they pretty much bulldozed it down, and we couldn't find any remains until the second day, and we only found the nails because we're pretty sure it was older church that was made out of wood. So it was pretty awesome that we even found nails.
And the connection there too is a church that's currently standing. And what church is that?
Lebanon Baptist Church.
So Lebanon Baptist Church goes back to this research project and the church that they found out at this cemetery, and you're going to find out all of the details on that with this presentation that these two and several of the other students took part in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Jamie Brown with Marion County High School, and I have a group of our students here with me today who have been working on a school project, honestly rediscovering Cartwright's Creek Baptist Meeting House and Burying Grounds out Shortline Pike. So just very quickly today, I'd like to give you a brief overview of how this came about. The kids today are going to tell you about how these three gentlemen are all connected to Marion County and how each of these individuals are a very integral part, especially Edward Stevens, because he received the original land grant where a lot of Marion County came from. Also, with this presentation, you're going to see today that Cartwright's Creek is actually the forerunner church of Lebanon Baptist Church, and we have worked with Dr. Dave Whitlock with that as well. This is true project-based learning, and at the high school, that's a very important thing that we've been working towards. Engagement of students, which you're going to see today, is incredible. The kids are very excited about what they've been doing, and a very important piece of our school culture. As you can see here on the screen, sort of the process, the research that the kids have gone to the clerk's office and they have done deed research. I've also been to the Marion County Public Library and worked with Jamie Watts with the genealogy room, and then they have done countless hours of research, and honestly they're not finished with the project either. This all began through social media. We looked at the Facebook page with the Marion County History and Genealogy site that our school clerk Karen Caldwell began several years ago and has over 3,000 members. It's an incredible organization and connection that's very active. Our property owner, Eric Tungett, actually made the connection through this with me, and then we were able to go back and forth and make some site visits. And initially this was the land and kind of what the property owner wanted us to be able to do. I'm going to skip that video for now, but in essence you're just going to basically see a field where you can see little remnants of tombstones that are sticking up, and these tombstones do date back to the 1830s to 1870s. And I'm going to turn this over now to Wyatt Hamilton, who's going to talk about their research at the clerk's office. Wyatt?
So here you can see us at the clerk's office. We went into the big storage room where they had all of the deed books, and we started with the current owner, Eric Tungett, and we worked our way back all the way to 1845. We also took copies of pages so that we could bring them back to the class for the rest of the people that didn't actually get to go to the clerk's office to see and touch and feel. And do I do the slide? Next slide. Okay. From here you can see all the current owners, you can see when they owned it, you can see the deed numbers, the dates, and you can see the passing of land from owner to owner. This is just more of that, more owners. This was Edward Stevens. He didn't actually have any male heirs, so he passed it on to Patty. Wait, that's right? He passed it to Patty? To Patty. Okay, yeah. He passed it on to his sister.
What you're seeing here is actually research that we came from the genealogy room from the public library, and especially the middle picture. Actually, from the 1940s, there was a person who was in Cartwright's Creek burial grounds and created a list at that point in history of who was in the ground, who was interred there at the cemetery. And what you're going to see, there's only about 13 names there. When the students finished after our second day, they had found 10 unmarked graves, but then an additional 3 or 4 graves that were not even visible in the 1940s.
Hello, my name is Olivia Blanford, and I'm going to tell you about the cemetery day, work day number 1 on March 18th. We walked the cemetery to find what stones we could see. We learned that graves faced the east because of the belief of the second coming of Christ from the east. Learned churches were usually at the center and cemeteries around it, and graves are usually grouped with families. We also learned to grave witch, which we will explain later, and how to probe for stones and try to use the GPS. Work to uncover headstones and look for new ones. We looked for the church with the GPS metal detector but couldn't find it. And now I'm going to tell you what grave witching is. Using the same principle as water witching, it is detects disturbance in the ground, also called grave dowsing. We cut 2 metal hangers, coat hangers, and bent them at 90-degree angles and hold the hangers closely, and they cross when there's a disturbance in the ground. We have a video to explain. So as you can see, when the coat hangers get over the yellow flags, they cross because there's a disturbance in the ground. And then at the end, the coat hangers separate because there's no more disturbance in the ground.
My name is Cody McElroy. I want to talk about probing in the ground. We took a metal rod and put it in the ground about 2 or 3 inches just to find a rock or stone that could have been the headstone. And then if we found one, we would take and clear off the brush and leaves and then proceed to dig. And then we took small hand tools, rakes, anything to clear the ground and to find the base or a headstone. And then we got it out, and then it's you.
Hi everybody, I'm Isabella Vidito, and today I'm going to be telling you about my day at the cemetery. Well, first off, me and Cody, we were going down to the edge of the field or graveyard, and we found this little headstone about, I don't know, this big off the ground. As you can see right here, we found these 2 pieces laying in front of it, so we dug them up and put them together so we can read it. As you can see, there's a piece right there missing. So what we did is we started using the probe as Cody was talking about, and we started probing for the other headstone, piece right there. Instead of finding that little piece, we found this right here. This is our first uncovered headstone we found on accident, which was pretty awesome because I don't think we were going to find anything like that. We also found 4 more after we started probing. We found 2 that has not been recovered in 80 years, which is pretty awesome. This is the people that I engraved the headstones with. Me, Cody, Dallas, and Bree. As you can see, there's 4 laying across here. These are the big bases. They were about 2 to 3 feet in the ground. They were very heavy to dig up, so that was fun. Also, it was just a great experience, and thank you, Miss Brown.
So my name is Cameron Ruley, and one of the jobs I did at the cemetery was cleaning the headstones. So what I did was I took water and first would pour it on the headstone. Then I took a cloth and wiped some of the dirt off the top layer. And then next, I took a toothbrush and scrubbed in between the letters to clean it more where we could see better. Then after that, I took a washcloth and washed all that dirt off. And then I just wiped it off with a clean towel. So, unearthing the headstones. So what we did was we took a probe and stuck it a few inches in the ground. And if we hit something, we know what we needed to dig. And we ended up finding like 1 piece of the headstone. So we figured there's got to be another in the area somewhere. So then we took a probe and started probing the area around it. And we ended up finding the 2nd piece of the headstone. All right.
So basically, the second day of the cemetery work day, we worked to find headstones that we couldn't find on day one. We cleaned more, and we also tried to find the church, which we eventually did. And then we just proceeded to take pictures of everything that we had uncovered. There was a stone under a huge tree, and we worked. This carried over from the first and the second day. We tried to get it. We think that the person under it is H.H. Clark, but after we finally got all the dirt under, we only saw the base instead of the actual headstone. And then you can see us cleaning and just uncovering more graves.
These were some of the etches that were made on Cemetery Day 2.
And here you can just see more probing, digging, and cleaning. What's this?
One of the most important things that we tried to do that day was we needed to create a map in order to have the exact placements of each of these headstones so that we knew where the grave sites were, not just today or tomorrow, but another 40, 50, 80 years down the road. So we had to bring in an extra person to help us with the GPS, but we now have all the GPS coordinates, and we're in the process of creating a Google map that would be available online, as well as a website. Over the summer, we'll be creating a website to put not only the map, but all of our historical documents, all of our presentations, and all of our findings. And as soon as we have that, we will share that with the entire community.
Okay, so one of our major goals in day 2 at the cemetery was to find the church. Well, we were metal detecting, looking for a coin or a button, because Miss Caldwell really wanted a coin or a button. And we were taking the metal detector, going around just the cemetery, but instead of finding a coin or a button, we found a nail. So the process of finding the nail is what I'm going to show you right now. So what you did is the thing would beep, as a metal detector would do, like that. And you would dig around where it beeped, and after it beeped, sounds like that. Then you would pick up the dirt, put it in your hands, and then you'd separate it, and then she'd go over both hands, and whichever beeped, you dump. Then you do it all over again until you get the nail. Sometimes it was a long process, sometimes it was a short process. It just depended on how big the nail was. This was the people that I discovered the church was: Olivia, Cody, Dallas, and me, among others. As you can see, these little flags right here is everywhere we found the nails at. And I just thought it was amazing because that was one of our goals, to find where the church was. This is the whole class we went with on day 2.
Just me. At the end of the day, on day 2, we decided to flip over all the headstones to preserve them, so that later down the road they didn't get stepped on by animals or anything walking around in the pasture. So that we just flipped them over on a flat surface so that they wouldn't be hurt by nothing.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about General Edward Stevens, he was a major general in the Revolutionary War. He had ties with General George Washington, former president. He grew up in the same house as Alexander Hamilton. They actually grew up together. He was pretty much his brother because his dad adopted him. They were in touch when they got older. Stevens gave property because of his time in the Revolutionary War. This is the Treasury warrant for Kentucky that broke off from Virginia. It's just pretty much saying how many thousands of acres is going to be, that was Virginia, that's going to be turned into Kentucky. This is the map right here, is the map of what is now Kentucky that broke off from Virginia. And this is the final document that tells all about like Kentucky being made from Virginia. That is signed by Patrick Henry, the famous person who said, "Give me liberty or give me death." This is where a memorial for Edward Stevens with his troops. He got shot in the shoulder. And this is just where his memorial is.
Connecting the Cartwrights Creek to Lebanon Baptist Church. Through Mrs. Caldwell's research and connecting with David Dr. Whitlock of Lebanon Baptist Church, the church pastor, he confirmed the connection with a brief history from the 1800s. Minister whose story said Cartwrights Creek Meeting House disbanded in 1859. We have documentation that Cartwrights Creek was used as a church as early as 1792, the same year Kentucky was founded. Cartwrights Creek became a separate Baptist church in 1795 with the Southern Association. 1802, the church grew and joined the South District of United Baptist. Some of the earliest ministers are listed on the screen included Owen Owens, who left the church in 1807 because he disagreed with the church holding slaves. The church disbanded in 1859, and 20 members began to work on a new church to open the following year in the quick growing of City of Lebanon. One source shows that Cartwrights Creek was used as a regional meeting house where Squire Boone, Daniel Boone's brother, attended meetings along with early Cartwright Creek's minister Joseph Milburn and others. Foster Ray was the early minister. William Bigger was the former property owner. Henry Clark, buried at Cartwrights Creek. James Stanling's husband of Sarah, buried at Cartwrights Creek. Miss Deliah Clark, buried at Cartwrights Creek. Miss Mary Jane Edmondson was buried at Cartwrights Creek. And Nancy Edmerson, family of Patty Edmerson and sister to General Stevens. 20 members of the Cartwrights Creek moved into Lebanon to start the new church, which is still on Mulberry Street today.
So now I'm going to tell you all some stories about some of the people that are buried at Cartwrights Creek. So here we have John Northcraft, and John was an alcoholic and was struggling from alcohol addiction. In 1859, he jumped in a well, committing suicide. John had a son named George F. Northcraft. George was a Civil War soldier, but also was the perpetrator of multiple shootings in Kentucky. In 1875, Northcraft fought with Thomas Chandler on the Main Street in Lebanon, stabbing Chandler, and then Chandler shot Northcraft. Northcraft was buried on what was called then the Chandler Farm at the time. Joseph Whitehead. Joseph was an early Baptist preacher in the area, and there are several records of minister returns for marriages in Washington County submitted by him. He was a moderate Baptist church in Washington County. When it started in 1817, he died October 4th, 1834, and is buried at Cartwrights Creek Burying Grounds. And here's some evidence of who else may be at Cartwrights Creek. In 1839, Susanna Chandler, then in her 90s, gave a deposition of how she survived the Revolutionary War with her children in Culpeper, Virginia, and applied for Revolutionary War benefits for her dead husband who had served in the war. She owned the land at the Cartwrights Creek on, so there's a good chance that her husband is buried there. And then here are the oldest graves we found in the cemetery. This row of unmarked graves right here is close to the church site, and they're believed to be the oldest in the cemetery. The flags mark where the headstones and the footstones are. We believe this may have been the Edmondson family who received the land from General Stevens. John A. Fogel. Based on records found in a settlement at the Marion County Courthouse for John A. Fogel, who died in 1871 and was buried at Ryder's Cemetery. There is evidence that two of his wives' bodies were exhumed upon his death from a local cemetery and reburied with him at Riders. We believe one of his wives may have been buried originally in Cartwright's Creek burying grounds. Fogel was a lawyer in Lebanon at the time and the owner of the property where the cemetery is located. So here's some of the next steps in our project. So we got a grant to receive access to information online. So we got a grant to access Ancestry, 3fo.com, and newspapers.com, where we can access newspapers from the 1700s and 1800s. And then we want to continue to clean up and preserve Cartwright's Creek. Building a website to upload the entire series of pictures, GPS coordinates, and historical documents for preserving of history. Creating a Google map using the GPS coordinates. Uploading and correcting the correct information previously uploaded to findingatgrave.com. Present for the Kentucky Historical Society Conference July 18th. Staying together for the 11th grade U.S. history to continue to work. Find another local cemetery to preserve. And those are the next steps of our cemetery project.
So this project has been really, really exciting for these students, and this is only, 5 of about 15 students, 16 students who worked on this initially. And just to kind of bring back, this is a very quick version of the presentation that we were able to do. There is a full version of the presentation on the Marion County Public Schools website. I would just like to bring back that these kids now have access, not just for themselves, but for the whole school, for very expensive resources through Ancestry.com, newspapers.com, and also 3fo, which is a military database of historical documents. A couple of the big things, they want to keep working on this. They're not finished, and I think that's the most important thing, is that these kids have a renewed history, a renewed sense of history, and preservation of history, and the importance of that. We are going to be presenting before the Kentucky Historical Society teacher conference on July 18th, and the students are going to be a very big part of that. I think it's important for everyone to understand that they have done so much to connect history in Marion County with this project. So thank you all very much.
Marion County School Board member David Cox was also on hand to invite the students to come and speak at the next Marion County School Board meeting, but also to offer his congratulations on a project well done.
Do that because I was pretty impressed with what you did. The one thing is, one big thing that impressed me, I know this will probably sound a little, but you're all sophomores. That was very impressive. I was impressed with it. The other thing that impressed me was, I think you did it from your heart. You weren't looking for any outside adulation or anything like that. You did it, and then now you're getting this external, feedback and stuff, which is good. So I mean, that's my whole thing is I appreciate y'all doing this. Y'all did a real excellent job presenting your material.